Hey guys, how's it going? So real quick overview for today's video. ETH has hit 4,300, Bitcoin just crossed 121,000, and at the time of this recording this video, it's actually kind of going crazy right now. So what we're going to break down in today's video is where ETH in the market is going, look at some of the main macro indicators I use to determine where we are in the business cycle or in this bull market more specifically, look at some of my income plays and their recent distributions just last week. Then we're going to look at some crypto treasury plays I'm involved in, and lastly finish off with a little sprinkle of hopium for you guys to keep you going. I know it's been quite a slog of the bull market, but I'm here to tell you, at least in my opinion, best this market has to offer is still ahead of us. Okay, so let's get right into the presentation. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Patrick. I've been an investor for almost a decade, options trader for 6 to 7 years, and I've been in crypto for about just as long. I'm also the person behind Apex Wealth Collective, which is a community of like-minded investors looking for, the signal and trying to cut out the extreme noise that these markets just love to create to, fool you and question your understanding of markets along the way. And this is my first episode of, hopefully, regularly scheduled market takes that I named What Happened. So first we're going to take a look at some of the market overviews. So this is just a little watch list I created. Basically you have some of the big cap coins here. You have Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Solana, and then you get into the more speculative stuff into the altcoins. So like Stellar, Sui, HBAR, Filecoin, Injective, and then there's two more on my watch list here that didn't make the cut in this photo. Those are Quant and Casper. I think Quant's sitting at like 67, 68, 68th place market cap wise, and then Casper's at around 280. So that's definitely a more speculative position I have there. But these are kind of the prices happening right now. Pretty much the only big difference here is Bitcoin is a little higher now. He's like, I think 121,500. So first thing we want to take a look at is ISM. ISM is the United States Purchasing Managers Index. It's the go-to chart to look at where we are in what we call the business cycle. Where are we in the market? So right now, we've been going sideways on the ISM. So the business cycle has been going sideways for pretty much the last 2 years. The last time that the business cycle has gone sideways like this for this long, I think correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was like the 1980s. So it's been like 40-ish years since this happened last. So usually what happens, the longer of a consolidation that, the bigger the breakout is. So we can definitely expect to see some fireworks going into the end of this year and probably into the beginning of 2026. I would hope. And so the first thing I wanted to touch on here was this tweet here from Watcher Guru. Was it says 82% of S&P 500 companies beat quarterly earnings estimates despite Trump's tariffs. Now, that is a big number. You rarely see that kind of number, but it makes sense based off of where we are in the business cycle. Let's move into why stuff like this happens. So when you have the ISM falling or bottoming, so you have the ISM coming from a bull market high and it starts falling down into the bear market, the ISM falls or bottoms, you typically see bad earnings seasons. And bad earnings seasons happen. Why? Because, in a bear market, companies aren't making as much money, they're not as profitable. And so not only do you have bad earnings from that, but you also have expectations that are heightened from analysts. And then you shift to a time in the cycle where ISM is, consolidating, starts lifting from the bottoms, and then going into topping patterns. You typically see good earnings seasons. And the reason you see good earnings season is, one, the bull market causes companies to make a lot more money, but also expectations are lowered by analysts because of things like, bear market PTSD. It's a real thing. You find that, if analysts are looking at data from the bear market, their expectations are typically lower because they're not expecting the results to be that much different than they were before. So you find that companies outperform those expectations, once the bull market starts. And so kind of like what we talked about, expectations and earnings lag the business cycle. So it's not forward looking, it's usually looking at previous data And so bear market PTSD will cause analysts to have lower than expected performance, and then bull market euphoria will cause analysts to think that, you know, companies will continue to outperform when in fact the bear market starts, they underperform. So you can kind of sum up bad earning seasons and good earning seasons into this ISM cycle. And this tweet right here is evidence of that. You hit an inflection point where too many analysts are too bearish and companies go the other way, and it's a huge surprise. And that's usually a big indicator that we're going to start to see the ISM kind of flip and start moving upwards over the next several months. So next, you just want to take a look at the coin market cap crypto fear and greed index. This is usually a really good index to look at, not necessarily day to day, but you know, every once in a while to check on how frothy or how fearful the market is. So right now, market's pretty neutral. It's not really frothy. It's not really greedy. It's not really fearful. We're kind of somewhere in the middle. So not really any positions to be adding to here. It's business as usual, just watching the market. So now if we kind of look at the chart of the fear and greed index, trim positions or add to positions. So adding to positions, you want to add to positions when we're extremely fearful. And you want to be trimming positions or taking positions off when there's extreme greed in the market. You typically don't want to be doing too much in the middle because that's where a lot of the chop is. So here, you know, I typically use extreme fear to get into positions, and then I'll use extreme greed to you know, lower my expectations for short-term future price movement. Because once we start reaching into those high extreme greed areas, that's where you can really start to expect some kind of pullbacks, at least in the near term. And then CoinMarketCap's altcoin season index. Not much to say here. I mean, altcoin season has been touted by a lot of people that it's here, but not really much has happened in the altcoin market. You kind of have a couple of outliers that are moving, but not too many. Most of them are still down from all-time highs, but I think we're on our way there. Typically, you see that altcoins outperform Bitcoin once the ISM starts moving up above 50. So once ISM's above 50 and it's staying above 50 and trending higher, that's where you'll start to see altcoins outperforming Bitcoin en masse. So right now, nothing too much going on in terms of altcoin season or it being very close, but ETH is really starting to trend and outperform Bitcoin. So that's a good sign, because typically what follows after ETH outperforms Bitcoin is we have altcoin season where the mass majority of altcoins start outperforming. So Bitcoin dominance, another good indicator to use to look at where we are in that Bitcoin altcoin cycle. So this is a historical risk level chart that I use from Into the Cryptoverse, great provider of risk charts. And this is Bitcoin dominance. So in the red, you have high Bitcoin dominance. In the blues and greens, you have low Bitcoin dominance. And this is where you're looking for that altcoin season. If it's Bitcoin season, Bitcoin dominance is going to be in the orange, in the yellow, in the red. Altcoin season, Bitcoin's going to be in the blue, in the green, in the yellowish area. So that's what we're looking for. Still in the red. So I would argue we're still in Bitcoin / Ethereum season, but for the most part, still in Bitcoin season. But that number is quickly dropping, and I expect it to start getting into the yellow risk territory, and then green, and then blue, which will all be altcoin season for the rest of the bull market. Now, this is just a historical risk level for kind of color-coded price levels for Bitcoin instead of just Bitcoin dominance. As you can see, this is from the lows of the start of the bull market in 23, where price was, 18, 16K, and now up to today, where the risk level is at 0.55 out of 1. And this is pretty much indicative that, Bitcoin is nowhere near top. We had a little bit of, orange and red right about here, but for the majority, there's really no top in Bitcoin right now or anytime soon. So lots of time to go, I think. And here's same thing, historical risk levels for Ethereum. Now Ethereum's been a little more toppy in the past, kind of right here at the beginning of this year right before all the tariff fear happened. But as of right now, we're just kind of getting into that orange range. We'll see. I totally expect ETH to start hitting new all-time highs soon, breaking through that 4 or 5 year resistance it's created, and keep on going higher. Might retest that resistance after it breaks, but for the most part, I think new all-time highs for Ethereum. But got to pay attention to those risk levels so you're not adding positions at tops. Now, last couple of days, Ethereum has been kind of sitting around 4,200, 4,300, kind of bobbing up and down. But as of right now, it's actually crossed 4,300. So I fully expect it to maybe start breaking through that 4,300 level and start making those new all-time highs. Now, big question is, where do we go from here? How do we know where it's going? So the short answer, where do we go from here? I think higher. Over this next year, higher. I think we're going higher because the bull market hasn't really even started. If you look at the ISM, it hasn't even started going back up. And so we still got a lot of time, I think, at least those 9 to 12 months. So where do we go from here? I think long-term, and I'm usually a long-term thinker, so 9 to 12 months higher. Won't give you a price prediction because honestly, once Ethereum starts going into price discovery mode, once it breaks that all-time high, the sky's the limit. Nobody really knows. You kind of just have to play it by ear, week by week, and see what the indicators are doing, seeing if there's any topping patterns happening in those indicators, and kind of, play by ear, go from there. It could be 8,000, it could be 25,000. We don't really know. That's kind of the short answer. So next segment I like to call Liquidation Lane. And this is just looking at some of the recent liquidations we had. And I actually just updated this slide a couple minutes ago because we just had Bitcoin breaking 121,000, and that created a whole liquidation cascade for shorts on Bitcoin over the last 60 minutes. So the first one back in August 2nd, had 125 million liquidated, and those were the longs. So as you guys remember, beginning of August, about a week ago, had a couple of down days there, pretty sharp decline really quickly. A lot of longs got liquidated. Very normal to see 10-15% quick pullbacks in bull markets. You just kind of have to expect them. The short side liquidation started, especially on ETH. So around August 2nd, August 3rd, there was about a buildup of about $2.2 billion of short liquidations at about $4,300 ETH. August 8th, 25 million got liquidated in 60 minutes at a certain point in time of the day. And then the day after, August 9th, another $110 million in 60 minutes. And just, not even an hour ago, another $30 million of Bitcoin shorts got liquidated. So one thing I will say about liquidations like this, liquidation cascades, is that they typically mark some kind of interim or short-term top or bottom. So if the longs are getting liquidated, it's kind of indicative of some kind of short-term bottom. If the shorts are getting liquidated, it can signify or mark some kind of midterm top. Now, is it going to be the final top? Definitely not. Short term, might see some pullbacks, might not, might keep going, right? We never really know, but it's good to kind of reassess or readjust your expectations based off of when these liquidations happen. So now just going into some of the income plays. So I like to take a portion of my entire portfolio and put them into income funds. And specifically, I've been focusing a lot on the MicroStrategy and Palantir covered call income funds recently. So this is MSTY, which is the American version of the MicroStrategy covered call fund. Their most recent distribution was $1.18 per share. And that was, what was that? End of July there. It was payable on the 1st of August. So people are already been paid out for that distribution. I personally don't own any MSTY because I'm Canadian, so we pay 15% withholding tax on all distributions and dividends from US-based funds. So I stick to the Canadian equivalents, which are MSTE and PLTE. So MSTE being an enhanced covered call fund, which I'll show you right here. So MSTE.TO, that is Harvest's MicroStrategy covered call fund, and it's an enhanced version of the income fund. So it's a MicroStrategy covered call fund with 25% leverage. So there's a distribution, 60 cents a share. I think as of a couple of days ago, it was trading, I want to say like $16 a share. So a pretty decent dividend. I think the annual dividend comes out to around like 50% at these distribution levels. And then Palantir, same thing. PLTE is a Harvest's Palantir enhanced covered call fund, which is, again, Palantir covered calls with 25% leverage. So just to give you that little bit of extra juice, 55 cents a share that got distributed. And I think we should be seeing those distributions hit accounts this week. Now, crypto degen plays. These are what makes up a pretty big portion of my margin and tax-free accounts. So the big one is MicroStrategy. I mean, I wouldn't really say that's a degen play here, but you know, it is high beta, it is high volatility. So for a lot of people, this could be a bad decision for their portfolio if they're scared of volatility. So, but I personally, you know, really like Bitcoin. I don't see a future without it. So, you know, if I think Bitcoin's going to do well, I really think MicroStrategy is going to do very well. And so MicroStrategy and the 2 times leveraged MicroStrategy fund, MSTU, makes up about 50% of my entire portfolio. So that includes TFSA, RRSP, and margin. It's about 50%. And then the second one I hold is, it's called Soul Strategies. It's a Canadian-based company that is a Solana treasury company. It's a small position. It makes up about 5% of my portfolio, but that's the other treasury company I really believe in. I think they'll do really well. Now, the next 2 we're going to talk about are both Ethereum treasuries, SBET, so SBET, and BMNR. So that SBET is Joseph Lubin's Ethereum treasury company. Same thing with BMNR, that's Bitmine Immersion Technologies, which is spearheaded by Tom Lee, and he's a big Ethereum bull, and he's got his Ethereum treasury play through BMNR. I personally don't have skin in either of these 2, just because I already have skin in MicroStrategy and Soul Strategies. And I think that's about it that I need for my degen bag. And lastly, a little bit of Hopium for you friends. So this tweet comes from TechDev. If you don't follow TechDev on X, he's a really good follow for a lot of technical analysis on macro trends, especially in crypto. So his tweet here says, you need to consider the possibility that altcoin dominance is breaking out from a 7-year correction, that the 2021 leg wasn't even impulsive, that the 7-year RSI falling wedge will send altcoin strength on its first impulsive move in 8 years. So if you actually look at, that's total 2 against Bitcoin. So that's pretty much the whole crypto market minus, I would guess, that's Bitcoin and Ethereum. So pretty much all altcoins, that they actually never hit a new all-time high in 2021. They kind of topped out at around the same level as at 2017, 2018. And now it looks like we might make that new leg to all-time highs. So like I said before, with ISM, same thing here. The longer the base, the longer the consolidation, the bigger the breakout. So expect a pretty big breakout in altcoins here. I personally think it'll happen. And lastly, just to kind of end things off for today, I wanted to give you guys, you know, a look into my Skool community, Apex Wealth Collective. So with these YouTube videos, you know, they might be weekly, so they're a little less frequent as you'll see updates in my Skool community. So in the Skool community, you'll see daily, weekly updates, see some snippets of these videos I make for YouTube before they're actually released, personal portfolio updates, personal trades when I perform any buys or sells or any changes to my accounts, general market news. So often, you know, do some frequent updates throughout the day on different things happening in stocks and in crypto. And then, you know, there's an area for us to just come hang out and chat with other like-minded people, kind of share some ideas and bounce some ideas off each other. It's $2 a month. So the reason it's $2 a month and not free, what I've learned from a lot of other Skool community creators and people who have run very successful successful Skool communities is that it is very, very hard to create a free Skool community that is open to everybody with trying to keep out spammers, promoters, bots. There's either two kinds of barriers you can create to prevent these people from just spamming these communities with their own advertisements, with their own scams. It's either you create a dollar barrier or you create some heavy moderation for the channel. And personally, I don't have the time to really be doing a lot of heavy moderation in the channel, so we had to create a dollar barrier. So $2 a month, that's all it is if you want to join the community. Anyways, that's it for this first episode of What Happened. I hope you guys enjoyed, and let me know in the comments what you guys think. If you guys have any questions, any concerns, any comments, let me know. We'll see you soon. Take care.